2023 is almost over. It seems hard to believe. It seems like it's flown by. I've got my obligatory cup of eggnog since it's the end of December, and I've got my yearly yarn review sheet. I'm excited to go over this with you. I think it's great to look at how the year has passed. I will have this free PDF. I'll have a link to it down in the description box. You don't need a Canva account to access it. You just follow the link and you'll be able to print this out. I think this is something I'm going to be doing every year, where I go over how things have gone and just keep track of things as time goes on. I think it would be kind of cool to have a binder that I can look at in 20 years and just see how I've grown. So, yearly yarn review, year 2023. I've got a place up here for my top accomplishments. These aren't in any specific order. I had getting blue ribbons on all my fair entries because this was my first time ever entering anything in the fair. I hit 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, so I want to thank you so much. I do very much appreciate that. This has been really fun. I'm really thankful for everyone I've gotten to know, which leads to the next one, making so many new YouTube friends. So that isn't just YouTubers, that is also my friends down in the comments. So thank you. And I've got a section here for some highlights. Being able to take advantage of the Hobby Lobby annual clearance and die lot sales, that paid off for me. That was a huge deal as far as being able to save a ton of money and build my stash and kind of keep me from buying a lot of littler things during the year. So that was a great highlight for me. And then another one I put down was actually entering stuff in the fair. So I was so nervous about that, and it did turn out that it wasn't as competitive as I had thought or hoped, which is fine. It was still a really great experience, and I feel like it was a little bit of a growth experience because you're literally asking to be judged on your work. You know, it's not like when you show it to your friends or family and they're going to tell you your project looks nice no matter what because they love you. The judges didn't love me. They had no idea who I was. So that was a big deal for me, just venturing outside of my comfort zone. I do have a playlist I'll link with some videos from last year's county fair in that if you are interested. So along with highlights, I do have a setback area. Sometimes it's hard because we don't want to admit, things that aren't going great for us. But since I already put the video out, it does take a lot of the pressure off. But I would say, my biggest setback of this year was definitely failing at my temperature blanket. And I have a video on that. I will link that if you want to see it. I actually have a couple of videos where I was very excited about the temperature blanket, and then a very long lull of silence where I made no videos because I was making no progress, and then my video where I talked about how I had failed at it. And then another setback for me, I have really struggled at successfully filming any type of tutorial. So I just don't have the setup here where when you watch the tutorials and it's got like the overhead camera and everything is nice and clean. Yeah, I don't have the setup for that. And I won't be purchasing equipment for that. So, I do know that my tutorials are a little more, how do I want to say? They're a little more relaxed. They're more of suggestions on how to do something. But that is something that has been a little bit more of a disappointment to me, that I haven't really been able to find a way to make a traditional tutorial work for me. I'm very thankful that my friend Jessie at Sweet Moments by Jessie has partnered with me in several videos, and she has actually made a tutorial for me. So when I was doing my bar stools or my pumpkin handbag, I've used her tutorial because she's made it to help me out and to go along with that. So I'm very, very thankful for that. Again, top accomplishment and things I'm thankful for, making friends. I've just really struggled with that. And I don't know if it's because I do sometimes have such a hard time focusing that I'm kind of my mind is bouncing all over the place. So I have a hard time articulating the directions in, you know, in the way they need to go. So I definitely commend all of you. If you don't know my friend Sydney at Sweet Pea Sid's Inspirations, she does a ton of great stitch tutorials as well. She has knitting and crochet, and I'm like, I'm impressed by by those of you who can put together a nice tutorial, because it is actually, it's harder than you would think. So those were 2 setbacks that I listed. And I've got a little area here that is things to learn and things to change. One of the things that I want to challenge myself that I feel like I didn't learn enough of this past year was I didn't really push myself learning a lot of new crochet stitches. I did a lot that were stitches I already knew, but just, you know, put together in a pattern differently. So it wasn't a huge learning year for me. So that's definitely something where as I go into next year, I'm going to want to maybe make a priority of challenging myself a little bit more as far as stitches goes. And things I want to change. So all this year, I just haven't kept good records. I have got a handful of projects that I wanted to share, but didn't write down the instructions as I was going along. I thought, I'll remember this. And you know how that goes. You don't when you think you will. So yeah, I've got projects that I can't really put a tutorial together for because I don't remember what I did. I'm notorious for throwing away my ball bands, so I maybe don't know what yarn I've used for things. I haven't remotely kept a yarn inventory. I mean, in my mind, I do know a lot of the yarns that I have because it's something I'm very, very passionate about. So I have a kind of a general idea of what I have, but I don't have any actual formal inventory whatsoever. My channel did get monetized this year, but it's very much still growing. So, you know, there really isn't a lot as far as business or taxes go. This coming year in 2024, I do want to have good records because I do want to be able to treat this in the sense of a business. If you watched my video on ways to get paid doing crochet, you know, one of them is having a YouTube channel. So I need to be able to, at the end of next year, take my records to our accountant and be able to say, you know, I purchased these yarns, they were used in these videos for this purpose, etc. These were my business expenses, so I am not just taxed solely on my income with from YouTube without having the deductions taken out. So I am obviously not an accountant, and you do want to talk to an actual accountant licensed in your state if you do have questions about, you know, how to deal with YouTube and finances and all of that. So I've got start, stop, and continue. So one thing I started this year was really getting into shawls and triangle scarves. So I have made some in the past, but for some reason they are just like jiving with me this year. So I really enjoyed starting that, and I am going to have a video hopefully in January where I show you some of the winter accessories that I've made for myself, and a lot of them are going to be triangle scarves. But I've just really, really enjoyed that and starting that this year. As far as something I stopped this year, I'm going to go back to my temperature blanket and say I stopped being delusional. So that type of project is not for me. It is just too detailed, too monotonous, too tedious, and I very much admire anyone who really enjoys that project. I think they are so awesome. I love the idea of it, but I just needed to stop lying to myself that I would start enjoying it the further I got along, or that I was enjoying it when I clearly wasn't. So that is what I stopped doing. And one thing I have continued to do all year, which is one of my favorites, is finding other new yarn YouTube channels. So especially if you are someone who has a new channel, let me know down in the comments that you have a channel so I can go check it out, because I love checking out new channels. And then the very bottom of my yearly yarn review would be next year's priorities. And I think you might almost call this like New Year's resolutions, yarny resolutions. So it's just kind of a great way to end this. My number one is going to be tracking my yarn usage. So again, this isn't, it's somewhat about personal growth, but it's also about having better business sense. My second priority for 2024 is going to be going through my tremendous amount of whip bags that I have. So I am the type of person where I'll have a bag and I'll tidy the house and I'll just throw the bag in a closet, and it's got like 3 whips in it, but I just throw it in there and then I forget about the bag for 6 months. And I've got multiples of these bags in different closets in my house. So I am going to prioritize going through those whip bags and actually pulling out those whips and finishing them. So hopefully you'll be able to see some more FO or some finished object videos in this coming year. My next priority for the coming year in yarn would be to rehome certain yarns that I'm just not going to use. I'm going to be doing a cleaning video very shortly and reorganizing some different bins here, and I'm going to take this opportunity to go through and find some yarns that I think would be great for other people. I'm very excited because my friend, her granddaughters, the teenage ones, have actually kind of gotten into crochet. So she had been trying to get them to crochet for years and they weren't interested, but you know, now that they're a little bit older, they're actually like picking it up of their own free will. So I'm going to look through and go through some things that maybe are a little bit brighter, that brighter colored yarns than go with my current vibe, and that I think maybe teenagers might enjoy a little bit more. And I'm going to go through those and I am going to bag those up and see if the girls want any of those. And I think they will because they're teenagers and they don't really have a lot of money of their own. So while I'm kind of on that same subject, my next priority or resolution for next year, yarn wise, would be to create a use first bin. And I've mentioned this before, I know yarn doesn't expire, but I'm going to try to treat it that way in a little bit, where sometimes like in my pantry, I have certain things that need to be used up. So you kind of bring those to the front so that you see them and you're more apt to use them. I am going to be doing the same thing with some of these yarns. So not the ones that I'm going to rehome, but some of the other ones that I know I will use, but I just haven't gotten around to. I'm going to be putting those in a bin so that I can see it, I can see them together, and it's not that I have to use them. You know, obviously I can go into the rest of my yarn stash, but I want to start in that bin first while I'm looking for yarn. And then the 5th priority or resolution for 2024 deals with the donations I started. So my friend and I have started making some newborn hats to donate to the hospital in our county. There just aren't a ton of people who are donating newborn hats, so they are always in need. I have started doing some, and it's a great way to use up some of those like single skeins of yarn and like some of the just different yarns I've collected and thrifted and all that. I've got a little bag started, but I really want to maybe in between some of my bigger projects throw in a few of the newborn hats so that I can get a sizable donation instead of just, you know, 1 or 2 here and there. So let me know, what do you think of a yearly yarn review? Is this something you would do? Like, do you like to reflect on how the year has gone? Do you like to kind of analyze what you've done crochet wise? Is it something you even care to look at, or are we just living in the moment? Because that is totally fine too. There will be a link below in the description box where if you want to print this out for yourself, I would love it if you would do that. It is absolutely free and just something kind of fun that I made for myself but wanted to share as well. I've got a video coming up that I'm going to be doing, I believe, on New Year's Day. I've got some other free PDFs that I've created that deals with kind of helping to plan out the year and the crochet projects through the year. So if that is something you're interested in, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button so that you will know when that video comes out. And if you want to click on the video, that'll be right up here. The YouTube algorithm thinks you will love it. So go ahead and hit that video if you haven't seen it already. In the meantime, you guys, thank you so much for letting me talk yarn with you. Bye.